All right, fellas, due to a very overall positive response, I'm going to do another fair use video. This time it's Jeff Nippard's channel, and basically I'm going to give my 2 cents, okay? Now, this is 2 highly regarded, the freaking peak cream de la crop influencers, gurus of the fitness industry and YouTube today. So I'm just going to give my 2 cents. This isn't to stir the pot. This is for nothing, but this is a genius video that these guys made. Let's start it off and I'll give my 2 cents.
In this video, I'm ranking 19 controversial fitness topics as either overrated or underrated.
19 controversial fitness topics. Are they overrated or underrated? Because this video alone is 15 minutes, if I talk about each and every single one, it's going to end up being a 45-minute video here. So what I'm going to do, guys, is I think I'm just going to, maybe not every day, but maybe every other day or so, I'm going to give my 2 cents because this is an awesome video. This was a great idea. If this was Jeff's idea, kudos, freaking chef's kiss. Great content here. So overrated or underrated, what do the top gurus have to say? Let's see what the first topic
For
is.
some extra scientific credibility, this time I'm pulling in exercise scientist Dr. Mike Israetel, who not only has a PhD in sport physiology, but is a competitive bodybuilder himself. I'm giving us 15 seconds each to explain why we think each item is overrated or underrated.
So they got 15 seconds each. So they're obviously not giving their freaking total analytic, science-based data opinion here. This is just 15 seconds spewing out tidbits. But I'm going to elaborate a little bit because I think that saying overrated or underrated is a bit black and white, and I feel like it's not doing justice to the topics. Now, I get why this video is made. Again, brilliant idea, but I think it will stick the hog and contribute to these topics.
And we'll be covering 3 categories: training, nutrition, and hot fitness topics. Here we go.
The first category is training, cheat reps, also known as ego lifting.
Go first.
Okay, first of all, to me, cheat reps do not equal ego lifting. For me, those are 2 totally different things, okay? Before they even answer, right? I saw 2 thumbs down there, but before they elaborate on this, ego lifting to me is just like basically like 1-inch leg presses that we all see people do at the gym. You know what I mean? Where they're just locking their knees up and then going down a centimeter and locking their knees up. It's doing, it's tough to even say, it's doing like the 1-inch rack pulls and all that kind of stuff where people want to feel like, yeah, I can deadlift 800 pounds, but they're deadlifting it like 1 inch. You know what I'm saying? But even that can have its effectiveness because, as Jeff will elaborate here, the stretch is, the most freaking hypertrophic factor of the lift, okay? So even if you are picking something up and it's stretching you through the wazoo, I mean, that has a big effect. But of course, Dr. Mike is gonna say that the freaking systemic fatigue for such a goal, there's better ways to establish it basically. But those kinds of things, 1-inch leg press, 1-inch rack pull, I would even say quarter squatting, but even a quarter squat can have some carryover to athleticism and improving vertical jump. Like that's been documented. Quarter squatting has been effective for that. But I know where everyone's going to come from. They're going to say, but Eric, they don't care about athleticism. They don't care about performance. They just want the growth, the gains, right? That's the freaking main argument that everyone made in the last video I made similar to this. But that's just my 2 cents. So I think that putting ego lifting with cheat reps already is just, we're off the topic already. Because in my opinion, cheat reps and stuff are, where you start to use a little bit of sway, right? If I'm doing push downs, I get my whole body into it to push it down as opposed to just straight. You know what I'm saying? Anyways, let's see what the freaking pros have to say.
On an end or a purpose, when you think it through, cheat reps are stupid on almost all counts. You end up
1 second. I think we missed the first.
Cheat reps, also known as ego lifting.
Go first.
It is a journey without an end or a purpose. When you think it through, cheat reps are stupid on almost all counts. You end up
a journey without an end or a purpose. Well, see, I think that's, what are we even talking about here? Because like if we're doing cheat reps as in a curl, okay, it's just to squeeze out a little extra volume, a little extra intense. It's just an added intensity technique. So like would be doing isometrics to be a journey without a goal or a purpose. So say I was doing some curls and I can't get the freaking concentric, I can't do another rep, right? So I have to cheat it, and then I could just hold freaking static isometric to squeeze out more volume. You know, so that's just, again, we have to think about what, if he's talking about where someone's grabbing the 100-pound dumbbells and they're just swinging them like so, right? Using all momentum. But even that, it's kind of difficult to say because isn't the freaking stretch the main component of, or the best component of the exercise to induce freaking hypertrophic, you know, just up the wazoo? So anyways.
Having a higher probability of injury, a lower probability of stimulating the target muscle.
So high probability of injury, I mean, yes, obviously if you're ultra strict, you're most likely never gonna snap yourself up. But then having a harder time targeting the muscle, I don't know if I agree with that because if we're thinking about a row, right? And you, again, they're saying that it's overrated, okay? But let's say if we're doing a freaking, let's look at a different exercise instead of doing the curl. Let's look at a bent over, like a dumbbell row. Okay, you can keep that strict, and then if you want to start banging out some more reps, you just use a little bit of leg drive. And of course, you can, as you use that leg drive, you can try to squeeze it at the top and then let it stretch you out. Use a little leg drive, stretch you out. So of course, it's that stretch, right? It's that freaking stretch. So I don't know. Again, this isn't to argue with what they're saying per se, because obviously he's a freaking expert, right? And what he's saying is indeed accurate. Like, yeah, it's probably a little bit more likely to increase risk of injury, but here's the deal. When you're going 1,000 miles per hour on your freaking way to Gainesville, right? Sometimes you're going so fast, you might end up in Snap City, but you would never get to Gainesville as freaking fast without, you know, the possibility of getting to Snap City. But if you're going freaking 1,000 versus 25 miles per hour, how much longer is it going to take to get to freaking Gainesville? Do you know what I'm saying?
And a very difficult time tracking.
I agree.
Now the tracking, okay? Now the tracking, I do agree because let's say we're benching, right? And we're doing an AMRAP, okay? So one day I'm just cranking out as many as I can. And that's another thing too. Like what would a cheat rep be? We know a cheat rep would basically be swing with a curl. We know a cheat rep with like a row would be using a little bit of body English, a little bit of momentum. With a shrug, you know, as opposed to doing it strict, it can be a little bit of dip and drive with the legs, okay? A bench, I suppose a cheat rep for pressing movements would be not like locking out all the way, okay? So it would kind of be like pumping them out like this, I suppose. Now, I can see how it'd be difficult to track, right? If one day you're going about so, and then the next day you're doing it like, oh, I did, 20 reps at 225 or whatever, let's see what I can do to that, and you're short stroking it a bit more, so you get 25. So, oh shit, I just set a PR, when in fact maybe cut down the range of motion. But I think that's, doing purely cheat rep sets, I think that's a different animal. But if we incorporate cheat reps as in, like I was saying, you're doing strict, okay? And it's like, this set, I got 8 reps strict, and then after 8, I used a little bit of freaking momentum to squeeze out. You would just document it that way. I think that's an easy solution for that. If you're truly a stickler for, a sticky stickler for documenting every freaking rep of your set. My 2 cents.
That they're overrated. I think for the most part, people should use good technique.
But here's the thing too. They're overrated, and for the most part, people should use good technique. But why are we looking at it as if it's one versus the other? My whole point, again, this is just adding to the freaking forum of discussion. This isn't, like, people take so much offense to this stuff, and you say something, he's a freaking scientist! He's a scientist! You're just a freaking meathead! You know what I'm saying? Okay? Why is it one thing versus the other? And then they're showing this freaking clip of Sam here.
I do that on certain exercises.
Where he's like, use a little bit of herky jerk. But I'd be willing to bet before this one rep he's showing, he was probably crushing them. Strict. And then it's like, okay, let me start to use a little bit of sway. It's just like there's a fine line where the cheating is beneficial to the point where it's like, we're just, you know what I'm saying? But even if you were freaking, bowling ball, then what about the stretch on the way down? Now, with that, big stretch with those heavy weights, that's where I will indeed concur with Dr. Mike that your risk of injury is obviously going to go up. But at the same time, the freaking stretch.
Exercises, for example, bicep curls. If doing a little bit of cheating and slight momentum allows you to get another rep, and then you control the eccentric, that might be an extra controlled eccentric that you wouldn't have gotten if you hadn't used that little bit of momentum. So I think that they can have some value, but I would still say overall, mostly overrated.
So he's saying that there's indeed value, but overall they're mostly overrated. But fellas, again, my whole point is like what he's saying about the bicep, like for the bicep curl, for example. But this can literally apply to any exercise you do. You know what I'm saying? For the most part, like if you're doing pull-ups, right? Strict, and then I'm starting, it's like, oh, I'm smoked. Okay, let me use a little bit of freaking momentum to get up. Squeeze it. Try to control that sucker down, okay? A little bit of momentum to get it up. Squeeze that sucker, control it down, right? Same thing with lat pull downs. Same thing with basically any type of rows. Keep them strict until you can't be strict no more. And we're talking about documenting, like for instance, any of this stuff, benching, okay? It was, I was locking out up until I hit the freaking 150-pound dumbbells. And then after the 150s, that's where I started short stroking them. You know what I mean? Like that, it's as simple as that to document it. And I just hate how it's one versus the other. But this is the society we live in now, where it's like this hot, buzzworthy, and now everybody at the gym is doing strict stuff. You know what I'm saying? T-bar rows with freaking, 2 plates. Like, oh, the squeeze. But then at the same time, the science-based geeks are conflicting. They're just total confliction because now they're talking about the weighted stretch as well. So for instance, if we're talking about the benching, you know what I'm saying? It's like, oh, those are 0 reps were done that day. You know what I mean? You know what freaking I'm talking about. 0 reps were done that day. Larry Wheels set a 20 on the bench. 0 reps were done. But then it's like, oh, but the science, the anecdotal data now shows and proves, and in the studies, it's the, the short stroke in it. That's the most myotropic part of the exercise. So now all of a sudden it's like, oh, it's, what I really like to do to induce more growth is to just focus on the stretch. Whereas just a freaking week ago, this was 0 reps done that day. You get what I'm saying? You get where I'm freaking coming from here? Like,
Muscle soreness.
Okay. So listen,
it can be a good...
we're already 12 minutes deep in this sucker. We got 1 out of 19 topics covered. But this is funny here, real fast. To show what I'm talking about here. Check this out. Bear with me for a second. Booyah. What is this?
Well, that new research shows that the stretched part of the lift is more important than the contracted part for muscle growth. Here's how I've been applying that to my chest training. Remember that your pecs will be stretched when you pull your arm out to the side, and they'll be contracted when you move your arm in across your body. So to spend more time in the stretched aspect, you can use a technique called integrated partials on pec flies. This is where you alternate between full range of motion reps and partial reps in the stretched half only. So you do 1 rep all the way up, then 1 rep just halfway up, and you do another rep all the way up, and then another rep only halfway up, and so on until you can't get the weight all the way up. And then on your last set, you can keep going with partial reps in the bottom half until you hit failure. I often like doing partial reps this way rather than leaving all your partial reps until the end because you get to spend more total time in that anabolic stretched position. Try them out next time.
That anabolic stretched position. He says it himself, the anabolic stretched position. So with these cheat reps, basically, you're hoisting that sucker up, controlling it down, it's pulling you into that anabolic stretched position, right? With the freaking, we'll say lat pull downs, because some people can't even do the freaking pull ups. So it's lat pull downs, keep those suckers straight, keep those suckers straight. So you like sway, you know what I'm talking about, freaking sway all the way back. Pulls you back into the anabolic stretched position. So my point is, it's forcing you into the anabolic stretched position to use the momentum with the cheat reps. So why are we saying the cheat reps are overrated? Okay? You get where I'm coming from here? It ain't one or the other. I ain't saying don't do clean reps. Use clean, perfect form until you can't freaking get anymore and then milk out a couple of those suckers with a little bit of cheat. It's just like, it's common sense.